Okay, it is 10 o'clock and I believe we are live on Facebook. So welcome everyone who is joining us today on this lovely Saturday. We have bonus Saturday sessions for the month of August. And today's session is on international experiences in synchro. I just wanted to share with everyone that is tuning in today, we've been holding virtual off-ice classes throughout the months of July and August. And the goal is really to give skaters around the world the opportunity to meet and learn from skaters in the sport and to keep developing their skills for on the ice. Normally in the synchro world, there's a bunch of development camps that are offered, and that gives skaters and coaches the opportunity to learn from mentors and leaders in the sport. But we all saw that with the pandemic, all of these opportunities have kind of been put to a halt. So we have moved things online to try to continue providing value to the synchro community, because we don't want this pandemic to hold you guys back from developing your skills and from participating in synchro, the sport that we all love. So we're so excited to be able to offer these sessions every Saturday, focus on different topics. Today's topic is especially interesting because I think a lot of skaters dream of maybe skating abroad, or they're curious about getting more information, but don't really have a lot of information about it or don't know where to turn or where to go to. So we're excited to share this session with you guys all. And for me personally, I mean, growing up, my best friend Emily and I, we dreamt of skating abroad in Finland. And skating senior for a Finnish team, because to us they were our idols. We thought that they were just, doing innovative things, and we just thought it would be really cool to skate abroad, to travel and do what we loved and learn from totally new coaches and skaters and a new way of doing synchro. But for us, it was always just a dream, never a goal, because we never had like an action plan behind it. It was just something that we thought would be cool. And because it was just a dream, it'll forever be a bucket list item that is not checked off unless we decide to skate adult in Finland at one point in life. So for those of you who are tuning in today, if you dream of skating abroad, it's important to start learning about the process. And then from learning about the process, you can start to kind of build an action plan, and that dream can become a goal, and that goal can become a reality. So we have this amazing opportunity to learn from Kata, Danny, and ANNE-CLAUDE today. And, I really think it's a cool opportunity for everyone to learn about skating abroad, because that's how synchro gets better, right? It's from, learning from other coaches and other experts in the field, and then going back home after and bringing what you learned back to your home country, and to help develop the sport in new parts of the world in new and innovative ways. And really, sharing is caring, and that's what's going to grow our sport further. So I'm going to turn it over to our presenters today. Again, we have ANNE-CLAUDE, Danielle, and Kata. We're so lucky to have these girls joining us today, and over to you. ANNE-CLAUDE, I think you are still on mute.
Okay, good?
Yes.
Okay, so we're really excited to talk to you about the experience of being can you still see my...
We're seeing you right now, which is perfect.
Okay, so yeah, we're really excited to talk about the experience of being an international skater. Today we're gonna discuss about our personal experience. So we don't know everything, like the experience of someone will depend of like the country they're going, the skater they are, and the team you're going to. So we're just discussing our personal experience, but it can depend on who you are. So let's see a little overview of the discussion of today. So we're going to discuss about our journey, the process, the federation requirement, our personal development, the audition process, school and work, our biggest challenge, the experience that skating abroad gave us, our future plan, and some advice to you. So
ANNE-CLAUDE, if you want to share your screen again, we'll be able to see it.
It doesn't work. Sorry. Can you see it now?
Yep.
Okay. So let's start with my journey. I'm originally from Montreal in Canada, and I'm now skating on Team USA with Adrian College. I started skating when I was 3 years old, and I was an individual skater. And then I found synchro when I was around 12. I started with a recreational team, a pre-novice team. I skated with them for 2 years. And then I'm a pretty competitive person, so I wanted something more competitive where there were stronger teams and I could develop my skating skills more. So I joined Les Pirouette Novice. I skated with them for 3 years. My first year, we won national, a big accomplishment in Canada. There's a lot of strong team in the novice category, so I was really excited about that. And then my third year, my last year in novice, we also end up second, which was a really big deal because we had a lot of brand new skater on the team. So it was a good experience as well. And then after that, I joined their junior team for 2 years. So I skated with Team Canada as a junior. We represent the Canada in 2 countries, Australia and Sweden. And it was my first international competition, really excited, and we did pretty well as well. And when I was in Sweden, I saw ANNE-CLAUDE'S perform, and I realized that they were student and also skating on a senior team. It was really interesting to me. So I went back home and discussed with my parents, and it was always on my mind that I wanted to skate in another country because my coach in Les Pirouettes skated with Team Surprise. So she was always talking about how like she had fun and she like developed other skills and she learned new techniques and stuff. So it was always on my mind. And when I came back home and discussed with my parent, we realized that it was something I really wanted to do. So we decided to Facebook message ANNE-CLAUDE'S synchro team and ask if they were taking any international students, which they were. So I started the process of applying to the school because you need to apply to the school to skate with Adrian. And then I went to the tryout. I made the senior team. So I've been skating with them for the past 3 years. This year is going to be my 4th year on the team. We represent the US in 6 different countries, which really happy about it. I was able to travel with my best friends and, see a little bit of more of the world. So that's pretty much my journey. I went in the US when I was 18 years old. So yeah, that's pretty much my journey. I know Danielle is in Australia, so let's hear about her journey.
Cool. So hi everybody, my name's Danielle and I'm from Perth, Western Australia. I started skating back in 2000 when I was 5 years old, and I did figure skating originally, but then decided I wanted to try a team sport. So that's when we tried synchronized skating. I started that in 2003 when I was 7, and I joined the advanced novice team called Jitterbugs. And then I skated with them for about 6 years. And then in 2007, I joined the junior team. That was called Infusion Junior. And I actually double teamed for 2 years, from 2007 and 2009. I was skating both advanced novice and junior as well, just because I just wanted to have more time on the ice, more time skating synchro, and just do as many teams as I possibly could. So and then I skated in the junior team for 4 years. In my final year of junior, which was 2011, so that was when I was 15 years old, I joined Infusion Senior as well, and I did both teams that year as well. And then, and then I've been skating senior division for 7 or 8 years now, actually. So I joined Infusion Senior in 2011, and then in 2012 we skated internationally for the first time ever, and it was the first time I'd ever been overseas to skate, and we went to the Mozart Cup. And I just remember we were sitting there watching Marigold skate, then Rocket skated, then NEXXICE skated, and then I think there was a Swedish team there and another Finnish team, and it was just, we were just completely awestruck by the level of skating that we saw at that competition, and just seeing it, live, not just on YouTube, was just the speed and power that they have. And I just remember sitting there and I was like, I need to be on one of those teams. So I pretty much started my planning process of, trying further to develop my skills. And Yeah, and then in 2015, my team in Fusion Senior, we won nationals for the first time. So we got to go to the 2015 Hamilton Worlds in Canada, which was such a big achievement for WA because in our state, that was the first time we had ever had a senior team and won a gold medal. So it was a huge achievement for us. And then we won nationals again in 2017 and got to go to the 2017 World Championships in Colorado Springs. And then I ended up going in 2018 to skate with the New South Wales team to go to World Championships with them because one of their skaters unfortunately couldn't afford to go. So they asked me if I was able to come with them. So I went to the Stockholm Worlds with the team from Sydney. And then from there, I went on to Canada to skate for NEXXICE for the 2018/2019 season. If I just flick onto the next slide, I can tell you a little bit about my preparation for NEXXICE. So pretty much we started having camps with skaters from the NEXXICE teams back in 2011. We had Emily Penrose, which is Lisa's friend that she was talking about before, and Lee Chandler come and do some skills camps with us, and they helped us choreograph our programs. And pretty much when they were over there, I was, having private lessons from them, just trying to improve my skills as much as I could. And I really wanted to develop the NEXXICE skating style and, learn all their exercises and just make sure that I could be, skate just as much like Emily and Lee as I could pretty much. And then after that, I decided in 2016 that if I really wanted to get my skills as good as possible to be able to audition for NEXXICE, why don't I just go to Canada and skate and, learn skills there. So I traveled over and did a camp with Les Pirouettes in 2016. That was in Montreal, and that was an interesting experience because I did not speak any French. So I pretty much just had to copy everybody's feet. And then I traveled back to Toronto and did the skills camp with NEXXICE there. And that was when I kind of met Shelley and Anne and, told them about my interest in coming and skating for NEXXICE and, kind of got on their radar so that they knew about me. And then our team in 2015, after the Hamilton World Championships, we stayed in Toronto and we actually did a camp for 4 or 5 days, I think, with Anne Shelter, who was one of the coaches of NEXXICE. And so that was a really good opportunity for me to get in front of Anne as well and, try and develop my skills as much as I could and kind of get to know her. And then in 2017 was when I submitted I sent an email to Shelley and I asked if I could audition over video. And I think it was a good thing for me that I'd been to the camps and kind of got to know her a little bit because she let me audition by video and because she already knew me a little bit, and I just did my the NEXXICE exercises that I'd learned from all those previous years. And and then I think it was the 2018 World Championships. I had already gotten into NEXXICE and I was ready to go straight afterwards, straight to Canada. And I realized that at my practice for Team Australia, Shelley was actually there watching me and checking me in the program. So that was so nerve-wracking. I remember seeing her and I was like, do not mess this up. But and then in 2018, I just went straight from the Stockholm Championships straight to NEXXICE. So I guess I'll pass on to Kata now and she can tell you a bit more about her journey.
Hi guys. Very excited to be here. So my journey, I'm from Finland, in case you didn't know. I started skating when I was 3, and I skated figure skating or single skating until I was like 9. Then I did juvie for 2 years, novice for 2 years, and junior for 3 years. So it was like a fairly rapid escalation, or I was really young in all of my teams, but I feel like that worked in my favor because I was always pushed and I felt like I was always challenged. So I was really happy about that. And then in 2014, I went to seniors. I think I was 16. And I skated with Revolutions, the Finnish team, senior team, for the next 3 seasons. And when the team changed or like developed into Lumineers, I did not go into that team. And that season was kind of a hard one for me because I wasn't sure where I was going to go or what I wanted to do next. I had known that I wanted to skate in the US and study in the US since I was like 12. So it was always like in the back of my head, and I was always planning on developing my skills. Looking at, like, I always looked at like the US teams, especially like Skyliners and ANNE-CLAUDE'S programs and their videos, because I wanted to develop that kind of skating style. And I feel like the US as a whole has a very distinct style, but those seem particularly like stood out to me, and I was like, yeah, those are the ones that I want to do. So when that season happened and I wasn't sure what to do, I got an email from my previous coach, and she was like, hey, do you want to come skate for Sweden? Like, they want skaters, do you want to go? And I was like, yeah. So I quit my job, and within 2 weeks I moved to a new country. Kind of a bold move, but it worked in my favor. And it's not that different because like Finland and Sweden are like right next to each other. But yeah, that was a real turning point for me, because in Sweden I skated for the new senior team Unity for the season 17-18, and I really got to focus on myself that season. I learned how to push myself and on and off the ice focus on teaching myself, because it was a new team and everyone was like kind of working on getting the senior look and the senior skills. So I got to focus a lot on myself, and that was really helpful because I decided that season that I was going to do it. I was going to fly to the US. I emailed Josh Ab, the Skyliners coach, and I was like, hey, can I come and audition for a team? And I never got a response, but sometimes that happens, just a heads up, because coaches, sometimes emails get thrown into like the trash folder, or they're just slow to respond. So just like, don't let that freak you out. Just, make sure you know what rink you're going to be at and what time you need to be there, and just go. And that's what I did. So I flew into the US, I went to their tryouts, and I was very, very determined to make Josh like me. So I tried to like be as confident as I could, and I got into Sky Senior, and I've skated with them for the past 2 years, which has been amazing, like a dream come true. Like, I've wanted to do it for so long, and it finally happened, and like it was perfect. And in the next slide, I can show you guys. My preparation for Skyliners was somewhat different than Danielle's, but also kind of same. I spent a lot of time watching their programs, and I spent a lot of time trying to do the step sequences that they have in their programs, because teams often reuse their steps in one way or another. Like, they tweak them a little bit, but they reuse the same core a lot of times. So I figured if I know and I can do the steps properly, then that like increases my chances of making the team, right? So I worked on a lot of that, and then I was very focused on what my weaknesses were, and I felt like that was extensions and mobility. So I worked on those when I was preparing to go, and especially the last season in Sweden, I would stretch daily, like run every day after practice and stretch, and like it was very determined and very like, it was not easy, but it was worth it because it was like genuinely the thing that helped me get on the team. And for me, a lot of it was preparing mentally to be the newbie on the team, because like I'd been in senior for 4 or 5 years at that point, and I knew that when I went to this new team that I would have to start from no one knowing my skill or what I can do or can't do. So I'd have to like prove myself and like prove myself to new coaches and new teammates. So that was a lot of the journey that I had to go on, just like the mental change in like my position, so to speak. But I honestly think that despite all of that, the unknowing, the just going for it and taking that leap of faith was really worth it, because like I don't think in all of my years of skating I developed as much as I did within those 2 seasons that I have skated for Sky so far. Like it was insane. It was just like a click. Like I found my place in the world, my team, my family. It was like a perfect combination of time, place, and people. So I am very happy.
So now we're going to discuss about the process. These are similar points from all our experience that we combined together. So first we all reach out to the team and like start to like look if they were taking international skaters and stuff like that. And then we went to the skating skills camp the team was hosting. We discussed with the coaching staff. We also researched for like their old program and look for step sequence, their no hold, there's twizzle series, and we work on those on our own because we knew they will probably reuse them one way or the other. We also look for their certain style because all the countries has different like skating styles, so we look for that and try to work on those on our own. Then we try out. I personally try out in person as well as Kata did, but then Danny said she sent videos, so it may depend on the team you're going to and the coaching staff. I didn't know anyone. I didn't know the coach. I didn't know the skaters. So try out in person was the best option for me. And then after, there's really important discussion with your family, because moving away and going in another country is a big decision, and you're not the only one that's going to be affected by it. Your family is going to need to sacrifice some stuff. You're going to make some sacrifice. It's a lot of money as well. So you need to find solution for that. Money should never be the point that will make you not do something. There's always a way to find money to make it work. But it's discussion you need to have with your family. So after that, I think you're all set to join a team. So for the federation requirement, it's really different from one skater to the other, because we all have different skating skill, different technique and stuff. So I think they adapt the process to all different skaters. But for me personally, Skate USA sent me a release form that Skate Canada had to release me as a skater, so I could be a part of the US Figure Skating Federation, and then I can get a new membership there. So after that, we tried to transfer my skating skill test, because in the US, to skate on the senior team, you need, I think, your junior moves, which are the skating skill tests in Canada. So some skaters, when they move in, they need to pass that junior moves before skating on a senior team. But for me, since I already had the skating skill test back home, we tried to transfer those so I could just skip that part. And it works. So I'm really glad I didn't have to pass my junior moves in the US, and all my dances were transferred and all of that. So I didn't have to do it again, but that could depend on each skater.
Yeah, I might take the following, because everyone who skates at least in Finland and Sweden, we have no test. We have no, like, especially in Finland, we skate, or at least that was my experience. Like, I skated so much with the team daily after practice, like after school, sometimes even before school, that like we didn't really practice outside of the like team ice. Like, you could if you had something you need to work on, but like it wasn't a requirement, and you very rarely do anything else except for synchro. Like, you don't really do dances, or you don't do like other stuff. So when I went to the US, they asked the Finnish Figure Skating Association to release me as well. And we did that. That is fairly simple. It's just paperwork. It's not that big of a deal. But then they wanted to see my tests. And since I didn't have any, I asked them like which ones they needed to see. And they just told me to send an email of like what I've done, where I've competed, what teams and levels I've skated on, and where I've placed and how. And based on that, they were like, okay, so you only need to do this one test. I think it was the junior moves, but I'm not completely sure. But yeah, so I did that one test instead of doing all of the ones leading up to that one. And I was set. That was all I had to do. But I want to be very clear that this is just my experience and like how it was for me. And it might change for you if you've skated on other teams or if you haven't skated senior. So it really differs from person to person, but I want to say that it's very doable and it's like less overwhelming than it might feel at first. Danny, how was it for you?
Sorry, I was on mute there. So for me, in Australia, we have tests that we have to pass to go into a certain division of synchro. However, when I was in Canada, I never got asked what test levels I had passed. So I'm going to assume that that meant that they don't have test levels to be in a division, since I never heard about it. But basically all I had to do was get a release form from my skating federation, which is called Ice Skating Australia. And then I just had to apply for membership with Skate Canada. So it was actually really quite simple for me. I didn't have any issues going into swapping countries. But yeah, I know that there are like some countries have the test levels, but I'm going to assume, and when I say Canada doesn't have them, I don't think that they do because I never heard about it.
Yeah, you don't need any.
Canada, we used to, but we haven't had them for about 17 or 18 years, the tests. They're
Okay.
used for novice, junior, senior, but they're gone.
Okay. All right. So I guess I'll move on now and I'll talk about the personal development and audition process for Skating International. So with personal development, I pretty much, and Claude and Kata covered it in their preparation for going overseas, but you just really want to work on your skating skills. Personally with me, I did the same thing as Kata, where I looked at the team's no hold elements or, you know, pivot block steps, whatever it was that they were doing in their programs. And I made sure that I knew them and tried to make sure that I skated it as well as the other skaters in there. I was just watching YouTube videos pretty much. And then the same thing actually as Cutter, as I was running after skating. We have like a 6K track outside of our ice rink. So I would do my session with the team and then I would go and run that track after skating just to make sure I've got, you know, my cardio and my skating done all in the one morning. But also another good thing to do is some weights training as well if you're able, because you know, with senior, there's a lot of lifting, death spirals, all those kind of trick elements where if you can have, you know, good muscle strength, it will really be helpful. And then also look at the team style. All of the teams have a very distinct style that goes with either their specific team or their country. And so if you can kind of copy that and, you know, incorporate that into the way that you skate as well, it will really help in getting you prepared for the team that you're going to. And the like number one thing I can, you know, say is to just have as much time on the ice as possible. The more time you're skating and practicing, the better prepared you'll be to go over. And then flexibility is another big thing. Like for me, flexibility is the one thing I struggle with. I am not naturally flexible at all. So I really had to make sure that I was just sitting in the splits every possible chance that I could, because, you know, my spiral height was not very good before I went to NEXXICE. And then when I got there and everyone's legs were like 180, I was like, oh, damn. So yes, stretch. It will really just help as well, just in all other elements too, just, you know, being flexible. But yeah, and then for the audition process, For me, when I asked Shelley what I needed to put into my video, she wanted to see things like my individual skating skills. So, you know, my turn series for no holds, my twizzle elements. She wanted to see basic skating like crossovers, stroking, you know, whether I could get a lot of power in, you know, minimal strokes. Another big thing that I did was, you know, making sure that I put all the NEXXICE exercises that I've learned over the years into the audition video, just to show, you know, that I already know them and hopefully can skate them as well as the other skaters. And then I didn't do this, but I know that some people have, is putting like their team's programs in as well, as to kind of demonstrate what how they can skate as a team. And then also another thing like moves elements. So your spirals, spread eagles, inner bowers, Bielmans, all those kind of things. And then another nice thing to do as well is to show like your interpretation to music. So, you know, can you skate and fit in with the timing? You know, how's your expression while you skate, and just like move on the ice is also really nice. So, yeah, I guess that'll be pretty much the same when you're doing tryouts with another team. I'm just guessing, obviously, because I did the a video audition, but probably just learning the team's no hold element, because it's highly likely that you're going to be doing those series at the tryouts, as well as like, you know, pivot block steps and twizzle elements. They're really important in learning, in preparing for your audition as well. So I guess now we'll talk about each of our school and work life that we did with our travel. So I guess I'll pass it over to Anne-Claude to start that one.
Yeah, so at Adrian, to be able to skate on the senior and any other team at Adrian, you need to be a full-time student, and also have that the grades that goes with it, so a certain GPA that we call. So I'm a full-time student at Adrian, and I also work on campus, because with my student visa, I'm allowed to only work on campus. So I do that as well. I'm currently a senior at Adrian, and I'm studying business marketing and a minor in graphic design, which I really love. Yeah, that's pretty much what I do. What about you, Danny?
Well, I am a qualified radiographer, so I work at one of the hospitals here in Perth. I was doing that before I moved to Canada, and then I left my job. And the plan is when I got to Canada, was I was going to change over my radiation license to a Canadian one and hopefully work at a hospital there. However, there was so many requirements and tests and exams and day courses that I had to do in order to change over my license. Plus, it was going to cost a lot. And then I thought about it, and I thought, you know, I'm here to skate. I want to have as much time as possible on the ice. I don't want to be, you know, stressing about working full time and then trying to make it to practice. So I ended up getting a job at Starbucks and working part-time there, which was actually super fun. It was such a nice place to work. It was so chill. And like, we had heaps of regulars that I learned their pretty much their life stories, you know, while making their coffee. So it was really good work and skating balance for me, because whenever, you know, Shelley threw in an extra practice or a day camp or whatever, I could always make it because I was working part-time. So that was really good for me. And then Kata, I guess, will tell you now her story about her work life.
Yes. Sorry if I was looking confused. My phone is overheating. So my school, the first season that I skated for Sky, I was not at school, which is if you want to skate in the US, if you're not going there for school, it's gonna be very hard to get visas, like very, very complicated. But you can reach out to me about that. I can help you if at the end of the presentation there's like information about that. But so the second year that I did skate and to go to school at the same time, I'm currently a full-time student at New York Conservatory for Dramatic Arts. I am studying acting for film. We have classes with voice control and voice, like how to adapt your voice. We have dance classes. We have acting classes first. It's very theatrical, it's very fun, and it's actually like very useful because I'm doing some classes with One Team Movement about where I'm teaching like you guys, younger skaters, how to let go of the fear when it comes to like performing and letting go. So sign up for that on Thursday. Yeah, it's very helpful, and I like, for me it's a perfect way to combine my two passions, which is like skating and then acting. Like I get a full field of like options that I can do, and I'm really loving it. It's so much fun. And I study in New York, as if I didn't say that already. Thanks. That's all I wanted to say.
So now we're gonna discuss about our
Should
biggest
I?
challenges. Yeah, okay. Some of them are similar from one skater to the other, and some are personal to our own experience. So for me, the first challenge was the language barrier. So like I said, I'm from Montreal, so I was raised and born in the French section of Quebec. So I was not really good in English. Even at school, that was not my subject. I could not do it. So, which is kind of funny now that I speak English fluently. It took probably 3 months to get fluent in both French and English. At first, it was scary and stressful getting into a new place where you couldn't really express yourself as much as you wanted to, and my teammates thought that I didn't really like it because I wasn't speaking really much at first, because for example, in the locker room, people were talking, and then by the time I understood and was able to answer, they were already talking about something else. So I didn't have time to answer, and I wasn't speaking much. But then after 3 months, I will say I was pretty fluent in both French and English. I still have my beautiful accent, which my teammates love making fun of, but it's okay. They're not able to speak French, so I get that. Another challenge was being far from home. Of course, you're gonna be homesick. You're gonna miss your family, your parents, but you kind of get used to it. Also with FaceTime and Skype, you can reach to them at any time. You're gonna miss some holidays, some birthday parties and stuff like that, but it's worth it. Like, you're gonna have other holidays with your family, like your skating family and stuff. So it's a little challenge, but it's fine in the end. And then another challenge was getting into the school. So like I said, I was speaking French, so I had to take an ACT test, which is like all US student has to take that test, and it gives you a score, and with that score you can get into schools or not. Like, it depends. So I had to get that test and study for it, and yeah, but it ended up fine. Like, I got into the school and everything works out. And then the school cost, because Adrian is a varsity sports, so which means you pay for the school and the school's gonna pay for your sport. So I pay tuition and housing and meal plan and stuff like that, but then the school is paying for my my skating season. But yeah, that's for my challenge. What about you, Danny?
Well, for me, a big thing was homesickness, but mainly because of the distance for me to get back home. So like, if I was feeling homesick, it would take me maybe like 3 days of travel time to get home, and then if I wanted to come back to Canada again, it would take another couple of days of travel time. So, if like there was a week of practice off for Christmas, say, I couldn't really make it home because it would take 3 days to get there. I would have 1 day with my family and then have to take 2 days to get back to be back at practice at times. So, it was actually quite difficult for me to be able to go home and visit family. So I kind of felt quite homesick in that sense. And another thing was like, when we were at nationals, we were so nervous about the scores to see if we were gonna, make it so that we could go to world championships. And like, once we got the score and everyone was cheering and everyone ran over to their parents, and they were hugging, and I was just saying, they're like, no, my parents aren't here. So I guess it's like one of those things where it's just like little things like that where you're like, oh, I just wish I had my family here, and kind of makes you really miss home. But in the grand scheme of things, like it's so worth it. The skating and, you know, the experiences that you get from living abroad, even if it's only for a year like me, like it's just, oh, it's so good. It's totally worth the homesickness. Another big thing with traveling international is the cost. So for me, I had to pay for skating fees plus my rent plus transport. Because I didn't have a car, I was paying like bus and train fares, Uber fares, taxi, that kind of thing, as well as like my food and any like social things that I was doing with friends. It is quite a big cost, but I will say I started, once I had made the plan that I knew that I wanted to skate international, and this was like way back in 2012, I started saving pretty much back then. You know, I had like a travel fund that I was putting money into, so that, you know, when I did want to go away, I had the money set aside for it. So, you know, it is a big cost. However, the life experience that you gain from it is totally worth it. And then if you start saving now for the future, then, you know, it's totally manageable. Another thing that I realized was a challenge for me when me and the girls were discussing it, our presentation the other day, was that developing a new skating style for another team is actually quite tricky. And also, I went from being like one of the skaters that never had to share a spot, and, you know, that my teammates would ask me for help, and, you know, I'd help teach exercises, and then going to a team where I had to share a spot and I wasn't sure if I was going to be skating at a competition, or, you know, like it's very stressful. And it was a good experience for me, because I'm one of those people where it's like, okay, if I want my spot, I'm going to get that spot. So, you know, it made me work really, really hard, and I'm so thankful for it. But it is one of those things where I had to mentally go into it and be like, okay, Danielle, you know, you're going to be sharing a spot. You're going to have to fight for it. You know, you're going to struggle initially, and you're going to have to make sure that, you know, like you really push yourself. But I think because I mentally prepared for that in advance before going over there, I thought, although it was stressful, it was manageable, and totally worth it too for how much I improved in such a short amount of time. So even though I'm giving you all these challenges, I definitely say every little bit of those challenges was worth the experience. So yeah, I'll pass on to Kata now so she can talk about her experiences.
Thank you. I actually feel like me and the girls are very similar in our thoughts in the matter. Like it's a thing, like it's not going to be easy and it's not going to be problem free, but it's genuinely, like, not even kidding, completely worth it, like entirely worth it. But yeah, for me, the biggest and first thing that hit me was the culture shock, because like I didn't think the US was going to be that different, because like Sweden wasn't when I moved away. So I don't know, I was just like, yeah, it'll be fine. Shockingly, the culture is not the same. So the US culture is very different, and the skating culture is very different as well. Like I said, we don't have tests and we don't have private lessons or private coaching. And in the US, that's like the standard. And that was like, what? That was very surprising to me. And then I was like working that into my schedule, and it's not challenging per se, but it's gonna hit you that like you're in a very different setup. Also for me, the cost, especially because like in Finland we have free university. So we don't do college funds. So like when my parents were thinking about me going to like college, they were kind of always thought that I would do it in Finland. But then I did it so they didn't have a college fund to fund me, which is something like if you already know that you want to do it and you want to go study abroad, let your parents know so they can kind of start preparing for that. It's gonna help them a lot. But yeah, so we figured that money out, and skating fees, because Skyliners is not a varsity team, so you have to pay for school and skating separately. So that adds up a lot. And then also the location of where you skate, because Skyliners is in the New York, Connecticut area. which is more expensive than, say, I don't know, Michigan. I don't know. I really don't know, but I just know that like New York area is very expensive compared to like other areas. And this is where I would say that if you are planning to skate for the US, ask someone about your visa. Ask what you need. And if you're going to go as a student, that's going to help you a lot because you're going to get a student visa and that's going to allow you to skate and you're going to be fine. But if you're not going to study, then it's going to be a very different process. So I can help you. You can Google it. There's probably like other people who can help you, but just know that it's going to be a different path than just going for a student visa. And then for me, it was also figuring out the logistics, like where am I going to get the money? Where am I going to live? Am I going to live near school or near the rinks? Am I going to, like, the logistics of it? But it honestly, at that point, is kind of just tweaking your schedule, tweaking your location. And it's like the little things, just a reminder that like they add up. But honestly, as soon as you get your funding and your visa, everything else will sort itself out. So it's not easy, but it's worth it. We can move on to the next slide. Also homesickness, but the girls also covered that. I can start with this one. So for me and for all of us, we wrote down like these little tidbits of what we got from skating abroad. And these are like the main core words that we feel like correspond with that. And I'll just go with the first two and then hand the baton to Anne-Claude. A big thing that you get from skating abroad anywhere, even if it's like the country next to yours or even if it's across the world, is independence. You will learn how to manage your own life, wake up on your own, feed yourself, go to practice on your own, figure out your schedules alone, figure out how to go to competition trips by yourself. Like little things, but it will really change how you view things and how you handle yourself in the real world. And it's a huge help, like a huge help in like your future endeavors, even if you move back home. Like it's gonna help you so much. Like it's gonna make everything feel less overwhelming. And then you're gonna get the confidence of like, I survived this. Like I can handle this. I'm thriving. Like in a new place, like Anne-Claude is doing it with a new language, which is wild. Like you will gain so much confidence in yourself and your abilities that it will genuinely change the way that you view your future goals, anything you want to do in your life. So I genuinely think that's a big thing for me. And Claude, what do you think?
Yeah, another was the new language, more for me. Of course, I learned English and it will be helpful in the future. Any job I will get, and knowing two languages will definitely help me in the future. So I'm glad I did it. And also going to school and learning new subject and all of that will be helpful in the future. So that's something that skating abroad gave me. Danielle, you can keep going with the other two.
Okay, well, a big thing is the friendships that you make. I guess like we and Claude Cutter and I discussed this the other day, and we were just talking about how everybody that we have been on teams with when we've traveled to these new teams is everyone is so like-minded. We all want to push ourselves and we all want to get the best results out of our team, and because we're so passionate about skating, we all really connected. And I think like the friends that you like make, you go through all of these experiences together of traveling internationally, doing these really tough, you know, like choreography camps or skating camps, and you know, you go through some like tough times together, so you really bond and you just develop this respect for each other. And I just think that like I became so close with the girls that I met on NEXXICE. And another thing is like there's other international skaters there too. So like I skated with a girl from Switzerland and a girl from Scotland and also one from the US. So not only did I make a great group of friends that I can visit in Canada, but I've also made some amazing friends that I can visit in the US, in Scotland, in Switzerland. So like you make friends from all over the world. And then skating skills obviously is such a huge part of why you want to travel and skate with teams abroad, because you already have your own skills and exercises that you've learned with your own team originally, but then you learn all these new skills that, you know, they push you and they make you a better skater. And then you can also bring that back to your own team and, you know, spread the things that you've learned and help develop your team as well. So it's just a really good way of just learning different ways of skating and how to, you know, put things together differently to just, you know, reach your skating goal. I guess it's really, really helpful. And I guess I'll just say for me, like I loved having the opportunity to push myself to my absolute limit. I can tell you now that this is the hardest I've ever had to work in a skating team, and I loved every second of it. And, you know, I really developed my skating ability, and then as well as, you know, meeting some really great group of skaters, you know, and they became my best friends, and we got to travel together and compete like our programs, which we loved. So yeah, I can't tell you how great this experience is. So now I'll just pass it on to Anne-Claude, who will talk about hers as well.
Yeah, for me, I think the experience gave me the opportunity to be a full-time student while skating on the senior team and travel like with my best friend. Like the two of them said, they become really close to you because you don't have your family close by. So your teammates literally become your family. And when there's holidays that you can go back home, like you go with one of them at their house and their family is welcoming you and all of that. Like I remember for Thanksgiving, I don't really have time to go back home, so I just go with one of my friends, and then their family is like welcoming me and I can eat with them and all of that. So they become really close with you, and you can also travel with international competition. Yeah, so that's really what skating abroad gave me. What about you, Kata?
For me, it was like I didn't realize something was missing until I went to Sky and I found the missing piece. It was like I came home. It was like not easy always because it was like the first finding your place on the team, finding how you fit in with the people, but like and finding your style as the team style was also hard. But honestly, like I have found a forever family. Like these girls are people that, and Spencer, are people that I could genuinely call and imagine like in 10 years, imagining them at my like wedding or my party. So like they're people that will be in my life forever. And like I found the way to make my passion for performing reality, like how to make that into a profession. And I didn't have a clear path until I went on Sky and I came to the States and I talked to people and they were like, just have you thought of this? And I was like, oh my God, that's like I have, but like, do you think I could do it? And like, they just support you so much. It's like you guys said, it's a family. And honestly, like, I feel like with Josh and Pam, I found my passion for the sport in an entirely new level, like a whole new level. And like I said, they helped me develop so much more than I've ever done before. And like I love them so much. And they're just like, it was just the perfect place for me. Like it was, yeah. I just chef's kiss. It was perfect.
Okay, so for a future plan, personally, it's still unknown. I don't really know what I'm gonna do in the future. For sure, coaching is always there on my mind, but it's not something I'm really set on. So I'm still looking for future plan. It's still unknown for me.
For me, I am very much set on acting and making a career for myself in the US. But I also like know that performing is not tying yourself to just one thing. And I am very passionate about coaching and doing choreography for teams and like finding freelance work that allows me to teach kids performing skills, and like the way that One Team Movement gave me the chance to start coaching people and they loved it and I loved it. And it's just like finding a way to perform for a living and just do and continue to do creative work, you know, acting, helping other kids and skaters, combining like my two loves. It's just, yeah, that's my plan so far. What about you, Danny?
Well, I have actually gone into my future plan phase now, because once I came back from Canada, I skated one more season with Infusion Senior back in Perth. And then after that, I decided I was ready for the next thing. And I had been coaching the younger teams for quite a while before I had left to go to Canada. But now I am coaching the junior and the senior team here in Western Australia. So, it's kind of, I love coaching. My favorite thing to do is choreograph synchro programs. I think it's so much fun, and I love helping, the younger kids develop and teaching them the things that I learned, and, hopefully guiding them down the same path that I went, because I want them to, be able to travel international and skate if they want to, or if they want to stay with Australia, then, at least like help us develop enough so that we can win nationals one day and go to world championships. And I love the goal setting that we have. And, just like when you get those skaters to achieve those goals, it just like makes me really happy. So, I'm kind of in that phase right now, helping out the skaters here in WA, and, hopefully giving them as much as I can from, in synchro, because, that sport is what's given me everything. So yeah, I just want to always be around in synchro and coaching and choreography. So yeah. And I guess now it's our advice to you. Well, for me, just if I was saying this before, like I've had younger skaters that I've been coaching say to me like, oh, I wish that I could do what you did, but I just don't think I'm good enough. And, back in 2012, I was 16, and that was when I decided like, yeah, I'm going to go and try out for one of these teams one day, and I want to skate for one of the top teams in the world. And I was not good enough back then when I made that decision, but I had to work for it. And it took a lot of practice, and I was on the ice almost every day. Just like if I wasn't out training with synchro, then I was down doing private lessons or practicing privately. Like I made myself, prepare and get good enough so that I could go. So I guess my advice is, if you even have the slightest inkling in your mind that you would like to do it, start preparing for it now, so that when you are old enough or, ready to move, you're ready in your skating skills and your ability to go. So yeah, I'd say just go for it. What about you, Kata? What do you think?
For me, the biggest thing is that I can say is, if something, and this is like literally what I like live by, like I live by this. If something scares you and excites you at the same time, do it. It's honestly, like, I promise it's going to be so rewarding. Like, the fear comes from like, it's something that you haven't done before. It's something outside of your comfort zone. But the excitement comes from like, your gut is telling you that that's the right thing to do. Like, it's going to push you better. It's going to grow you in ways you did not think could happen or needed to happen. And it's just all the decisions that I've made in my life that are like a turning point, I've felt that way. And it is terrifying, but also like really cool. Like, it's so exciting. So if you feel like that when you think about skating abroad or moving abroad or literally anything in your life, I would say go for it. You only live once. What's the worst that could happen? Do it. What about you, Anne-Claude?
So same thing, like you need to take some risk and don't be scared about it. Like everything's gonna work fine, and even if you go in a new place and you don't know anyone, you don't know your future teammates, your coaches, staff, you know, they're gonna love you. Like, they're your teammates, so they're gonna be there to support you and help you figure out stuff, like with school and stuff. They're there to help me, and they like review my paper, make sure like I don't make any mistakes and stuff like that. So your teammates, like, even if you don't know them, you know, they're gonna love you. Like, they're gonna be there to support you, and they're gonna help you all the way. And so the experience is definitely worth it. I would not change it anything, and it's something you're gonna remember every single day. Like, it's a lifetime experience, because every day you're gonna remember it and be like, oh, like 10 years ago I went to the US and I skated for their senior team, and you know, so it's something you're gonna remember every day. So yeah, follow your dreams if it's something you're thinking about. I think yeah, so that's the end. If you have any question, please comment then on the Facebook Live, I think. Also, if you have more questions, these are our information. You can contact us, email us, and if we don't have the answer, we're gonna try to figure out someone that has the answer for you. And there's also our Instagram if you want to reach us. I think sometimes it's easier that way. So yeah. I don't know
Awesome.
if-
Wow. That was such an uplifting and inspiring presentation. So cool to hear your positive experiences and how much support and how much you really got out of the situation. I think it's really, really great to share that with everyone. For everyone that's been watching, we had, I think, over 175 people tune into the Instagram live, which was really cool. Yeah, if anyone has any questions that's tuning in right now, feel free to pop it in the comments and I will ask them here. While we're here, I have a question because I know a lot of people, when it comes to traveling internationally, one concern might be the language barrier. And Anne-Claude, you are a perfect example of overcoming that barrier. So I'd love to know from you, what are some tips that you have for skaters who are maybe looking at moving to a new team, whether the language is German or you know, any language really? What are your tips for them in getting accustomed to a new language and really feeling comfortable with it?
I think so. When I first like knew I was going to Aegean, over the summer, I looked for TV shows and I read books in English, you know, like try to get ready for it. But the main thing is just being in an English environment. Like, I live with skaters that were speaking English. I skate with those. Like, nobody was there to translate for me, so I didn't have a choice. You know, it was speak English or don't speak at all. So I didn't have a choice, and that's the only way you can truly learn a new a new language. Also, don't be scared to ask your teammates or your coaches. Like, I went up to my coach, I don't know how many times, just be like, can you repeat that? I don't understand what you're saying. Or like, even for synchro words, you know, they're talking about crossovers, and I'm like, what is a crossover? Like, I definitely know what it is, but I don't know the word. So just these little things, and it makes fun stories to tell at the end. Like, now today, like, they're making fun of like little things I said my first day in Adrian. So like, they're like, oh, do you remember when you said that? And I'm like, oh yeah, I do remember. Like, you guys still make fun of it, but it's just funny. And like, in the end, they don't know how to speak your language either. So if like they're like, we went to France for a competition and I was literally there to translate everything because nobody understood what they were saying. And so I ordered for them at the restaurant, and then at the rink they were like, oh, this is your locker room, and people were like, what are you talking? And I'm like, oh, this is our locker room, you know, like they didn't understand anything, but I did. So don't be scared, like don't be shy either. At first, for sure, it's stressful, but then I think it took like 3 months, so like it's not that big of a deal. You can definitely do it. Yeah.
That's amazing. It's so hard to learn a new language, so I bow down to you for learning English in such a short amount of time. One more question for you, because one question that we always get from skaters is, how do you balance school and skating, especially skating at the collegiate level? So you're, well, at the senior level, but while in college, sorry. So do you have any, maybe 3 tips for skaters who are trying to balance school and skating, maybe not even skating at the senior level or in university, but trying to balance high school and skating or anything like that?
Yeah, definitely buy a planner. My planner is like my best friend. Everything is written down, my assignment, my exams, my practice, workouts, all of that is written down there. Also put space for like free time, you know, like sometimes you get so busy that you forget about eating food or like taking a nap. Like, so I put down time for me, like a 30 minutes a day at least, just to like watch a TV show or just read a couple of pages of my book, just for fun, to like relax and take your time. And I think, yeah, I don't really know. It's definitely hard, but at the same time, in my team, we're all in the same boat. Like, we're all full-time students. So like, if we're in competition and stuff, we're just all sitting in the lobby doing homeworks. And then you definitely have a teammate that already took that class, so you can ask like, oh, how about that teacher? Like, do you know what he likes? Or how should I write that down? Or I don't know, like, is that exam really hard and stuff like that? So your teammates knows like how it's going on. Like, we all have really busy schedule, so we know like we can help each other out. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that. I'm going to turn to Danny now in Australia. So, Danny, when I think of you, you are like, everyone loves you and you're just such a sweetheart. And, you've always had a really good relationship with your coaches. And I think you've had a very supportive relationship as well with your coach in Australia. And when you were looking at moving abroad, I know Jen was right in your corner supporting you. So do you have any tips for skaters who might be a little bit intimidated to have that conversation with their coach about moving abroad and leaving the team that they've grown up with and really grown to love? How do you suggest that they kind of approach that situation?
I guess like the thing that excited my coach the most about me going was that, you know, she was kind of seeing like all of the great stuff that I could bring back to the club, you know, like with Australian skating, really, it's, you know, we're kind of catching up a bit. You know, we're always like looking on YouTube to see what all the top teams are doing and how they're training. And we're kind of like looking to them to kind of see as our inspiration of what we want to aspire to be like. And so, you know, for me to kind of go over there and, you know, learn how they train and, you know, what the exercises that they're doing and, you know, like, how do they get such amazing spirals? You know, like I can bring all this stuff back and help, you know, develop our club better. So, I mean, that was probably a good selling point for Jen in like her excitement and me going over. But also like, it's not really abandoning your team so much. So I think like if you really approach the subject like, you know, I've had such an amazing experience here. And I just want to go off and, you know, spread my wings and have some new experiences. And then, you know, you're always going to come home. You know, it's not like you're leaving forever and you're never going to see your friends and family again and you see your synchro team. So I think, yeah, I don't know. I guess it's always like keeping it positive. You know, you don't want to be like, okay, I'm done, I'm going now. It's like I want to go and I want to learn more experiences and then I'm going to bring them back. And even if you do end up loving the country and want to stay there forever, at least you can come back and do skating camps with your team and, you know, bring all the stuff that you're learning back. So I think that the that kind of the exchange of learning the new skills and, you know, ways of doing things makes it worthwhile for your coach, you know, to let you go. But yeah, I've always had such a positive experience with my coach. She was amazing.
Yeah, and it's really important because there's so many teams that have guest coaches come out and work with them and they do seminars, and the seminars are always such a jumping point for the team, right? To get to learn these new skills and see new ways of training. But I think one of the best benefits to bringing in that guest coach or the guest skater is really getting to be on the ice with them and seeing how they move and, you know, being able to skate right next to them. So, in this case, Danny, for you to be able to go back to your home club and really like be a senior, a NEXXICE skater, but to actually be in Australia full time and be able to bring those resources to your teams, it really, really helps the sport to jump. I'm sure you've seen improvements in your team and club.
Yeah, for sure. And just, it's also like when you're bringing those guest coaches out, you know, there's like flights and accommodation that you have to kind of accommodate for, and it ends up being quite a big cost to get those things out. But, you know, I live there for free, so
Yeah,
it kind of takes away the cost.
yeah. And I have another question for you, Danny. So, you know, skating in general is expensive, and especially when we start to get a little bit older and maybe our parents aren't paying for it anymore, and you know, in your situation, having to move abroad and save. A question I have for you is, what are some tips that you have for saving, and how far out did you start saving for your journey to Canada to skate with NEXXICE?
I actually was a pretty good saver from when I got my first job when I was 14. And yeah, I like to save because I never know what's around the corner, you know. I always want to be prepared. But yeah, I was pretty much, I think the big point when I really started saving was about 2015. It was when I went to Worlds for the first time, and I saw NEXXICE skate, and then we had the camp with Anne after, and I was like, I was already planning on going, but even just after that, I was like, I am so sold, I will be there. So that was when I really like bunkered down and was saving. But I was working just at a coffee shop at that time because I was doing uni as well, and yeah, I pretty much just like, I always save 50% of what my pay is, and then the other 50% is what goes to my general life expenses. And then I started working my full-time job at the beginning of 2017, and that was when I like really saved, because that was the whole year before that I was going away. So I was just not spending on like, you know, dresses and new shoes and all those like frivolous things. I was just like really, really focused on saving for my international trip. So yeah, it is doable.
Sounds like you just need to know that it's happening and have a plan, and then you can start chipping away at that plan.
Yeah, exactly. And like the earlier you start saving, the easier it will be, because you can put smaller amounts away for a longer time and you end up with the same amount. So, you know, I think yeah, start saving now. Put those dollars in the piggy bank.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Danny. And lastly, Kata, I have a few questions for you. So one question is, I mean, you've been able to identify a passion that you have and a skill set that you have in acting. And then from that, you're able to study that and then bring that to the synchro world to help the sport get better. So what was your, I guess, journey in identifying that skill set that you had and the ability to act? And do you have any tips for people that maybe want to stay involved in synchro but aren't sure what they should study, and how to identify their unique skill sets to be able to, you know, stay relevant and stay involved in synchro?
For me, it was very much like, ever since I remember starting skating, for me, the favorite part of it was like the show, like the performing aspect, the show aspect, where we could just be like, yeah, look at me, like I know what I'm doing. And I was like, so I love, like when I was a kid, it was more about just like, yay, performing. But like as I grew older, it was like being able to emote in a way that like affected other people. Because like for me is like what makes skating so impactful is like we've all shared the same emotions. So if I can make you feel a certain emotion just by the way that I'm exposing my own, how much greater is my skating gonna look when you are not only looking at phenomenal skating, but you're also feeling the story that I'm telling you. So I was like, after that, it was just about how much I can make them feel, like, and how do I make it feel more, like working within myself, like, okay, so this is something that I love to do. How can I be even better? Like working on that. And then when I got to the point where I could just, this is gonna sound maybe weird, but like switch an emotion off and on, like when I go on the ice, I was like, okay, so I love this. Like I wanna like drown myself in this environment. And I was like, that's how I found my way in like performing arts, because I knew that I had this and I had the body movement, but I didn't know how to use my voice to perform, which is why I was like, okay, acting school is the logical choice because that's what I'm lacking. And then I was like, I've always, well, not always, but I've always like had the feeling that like a lot of people that I know who say that they struggle with performing, they don't actually struggle. They just don't know how to unleash what they already have. And sometimes like even in Skyliners, I would like say, let's try this one, or like, do you want to try this one? Like exercises or just like ways of thinking about it. And it changed some people's like way of feeling. And they were like, I can do this, like wow. And like even with younger skaters that I've worked with, I was like, I can see you have so much like inner life, theater terms. It's called inner life. And it's just about like releasing that and then seeing them being able to let go on the ice, and like it just fed me in the way that like I was like, I want to help more. Like I want to see you feel the way that I feel when I perform. Like how can we make this more? So that's how I found my passion for like coaching, and like that is like that particular aspect of coaching, not just choreography, but like that as well. So I feel it would be first, what do you feel confident in your skating? Like what are you really good at? Like is it like when you extend, people are like, wow, look at them extensions? Or is it your posture? Is it your steps? Are people like, look at those edges? Like what is it that makes you feel like, let me show off, you know? Because everyone has that. Even if you don't feel like you do, you really do, and you know it. So just work on developing that even more. And then when you feel like confident in your own skills, see if there's someone who wants help in that area, or if someone asks for your help, or if you can offer your help for someone, and if you find a way to make it attainable for them.
I love that advice. Follow your passion and hone in and like make that your craft, and then everything kind of falls together, right? Really, really
Yeah.
cool. And another question I have for you, Kata, because you said that you moved from Finland to the United States, and the culture was very different. And I think a lot of times, like we get so used to our home comforts, and that's really what brings us joy. So, do you have any tips for how to I guess bring some of that culture with you if you travel abroad, and how to help kind of handle and address that homesickness and feel more at home wherever you may travel to?
For me, I would say first of all, even if the culture is different and they do things a very different way than you would normally are used to doing things, trust the process because they are good for a reason. And even if they get there through a different path than what you're used to, don't doubt it. Like just let it kind of happen. Like the way Canada skates, the way Finland skates, the way the US skates and prepares and practices are entirely different. Like those three make like they don't correspond. What they do in a way, but like they're very different. So like there's no right one way to like success. So that's one. Secondly, I would say I felt like what makes Finland as great as they are is A, sharpness, B, posture, and C, the power within like not just speed, but like power. Like you're not just like chilling, you're like chilling. Like the difference between like this or this. Like I don't know how to word that. I'm sorry. But just like find what you love about where you're coming from and what makes that skating special. And then when you're at practice or people are like, hey, what should we work on? If you're doing off ice or just talking with the team, be like, hey, I feel like we could work on this, or just bring it up, not in a way that like sounds like you're judging, but like in a way that like I think this would make us really great. Like, can we try today focusing on posture? Or today, can we like walk through the counts with like as much gusto as possible? Like something that you feel like is making you special, and bring it into that team and see how they take it, and then just make it that team's combined effort, you know?
Love that. Don't be afraid to shine, because in shining yourself, you give others permission to do the same. That's a modified version of a Martin Luther King speech that I love. Well, we are going to wrap it up because we have been chatting for a long time, but it's just flown by, and we could talk to you girls for an entire day. You're full of wonderful, wonderful experiences and things to kind of hear about and learn from. So thank you very much, ANNE-CLAUDE, Kata, and Danny, for joining us today. Thank you for everyone who tuned in, and hopefully we'll see you in another session this month with us.
Thank you so much. Oh, and if you have questions, let us know.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Great job again, ladies.